All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel and my very first video ever on the platform. I wanted to just kind of start this sort of like video journaling sort of thing for something new that I'm just kind of getting into now, which is D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Joining my very first campaign, and kind of ended up also getting sucked into a second campaign. So maybe I'll make a video about my character for that one as well. So very first time doing anything D&D related, I guess other than Baldur's Gate, which I just found late last year was sort of the gateway path to get into D&D. Maybe for a lot of people that was the case, but uh, first time January 2026. Happy New Year's to all of y'all. Yeah, so just getting into D&D. Played World of Warcraft many years in the past and other MMOs, but for some reason never ended up finding or even hearing much about D&D. Most of my friends growing up, I don't think anybody actually was really into this type of stuff in terms of tabletop. So it certainly wasn't brought up at all. And yeah, kind of got into this from a family member was watching Dimension 20 on Dropout TV once when I was visiting, and I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't even realize that it was even D&D to begin with because it was so, you know, it was very productionized and very smooth given the chaos that some of the cast members can ensue with their actions. But it was really cool to see what D&D could be like, and yeah, from there I kind of started exploring a little bit more. Watched one of the campaign series that they had there in totality. I think it was like Fantasy High, like the first season of that. And I ended up giving Baldur's Gate 3 a shot. I remember buying it back when it released. I don't even know when that was, but I think I only played it for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. I wasn't super into the turn-based gameplay at the time. It didn't really click in my head, and ended up not picking it up until just late last year, and immediately got addicted to that. Was super fun, was cool building out your character, and it was cool having the drastic difference between sort of current MMO design and how D&D works, where you live in each level for quite some time, right? And I'm assuming that's going to be the case in these campaigns. Uh, what I have pulled up here is what my first campaign is going to be. We've done a session 0 where we sort of play tested with our group a combat encounter, and we were awarded one uncommon item of our choosing. We're playing 2024, I think, for the most part. Um, it was a super flexible DM, so if there was any questions or if we wanted to bring up any homebrew, which I did after some mild research. It is my first time, but I'm not afraid to ask for things. And the DM says no. Hey, I tried, right? So what do we got here? So my character is named Olmar Roy Weaver. Roy Weaver is not here in the name due to part of the backstory that I've got going on here, but he goes by Ollie. And Ollie is a ranger, and in particular, you'll see here a hunter ranger. This campaign is starting with us at third level, and so we've got our subclass. And I chose, right there, chose hunter for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I'm new, and so getting into the flow of combat and the social stuff, and doing my best to be an engaged participant uh, in sort of like the role playing aspect at the table. Kind of wanted to tone down some of the mechanics a little bit, and so uh, Hunter seemed like a great choice. Now, something to note about this selection is very important in the context of our group. So we played a one shot with the majority of the members. Well, we were mostly all new, and so played a one shot to see if we were interested in a campaign. Um, and in that one shot, one of the other members played a fighter. They were a battle master fighter, and they really enjoyed that. So I knew that that particular class, subclass combo, someone was already going to be a fighter battle master. So I wasn't going to select that. I am mentally somebody who prefers martial or like warrior type characters. Played warrior in World of Warcraft back in the day. I do enjoy healers, but I know D&D, yeah, it doesn't quite work like MMOs, right? So you don't need somebody who's like only going to be healing. That's probably going to be very boring. You usually have sort of somebody who's capable of healing, and then everyone kind of makes sure to pitch in with what they can resource wise. But so I knew I was going to pick a martial character. I didn't know what everybody else in the party was going to select. I think there's five of us in total, and I was like, well, fighter's gone. I could pick barbarian, but I think that was sort of recommended as sort of like a beginner class. Uh, but I saw a video by a guy named D&D Deep Dive D4. I'm sure if you're into D&D, you know his channel. I think his name is Colby. I've seen a few of his videos, and it was really cool to kind of learn and sort of osmosis information into my brain uh, in terms of builds and stuff like that, and kind of learn how to maybe approach characters and kind of how certain uh, builds can kind of drive certain play styles and kind of I didn't know what Nova meant, and so seeing what a Nova build looks like helps contextualize some of the picks that you might have in terms of spells or abilities or whatever. Um, One of his videos was about a melee ranger, and it was about a dual wield. You'll see we're using standard array, but it was a dual wield dex based ranger. Um, I think in his case he was using the Beastmaster subclass. Um, and as I was looking at it, people who are far more experienced in this than I will have probably a better read. I'm totally new, but I didn't like the idea of requiring my bonus action every single turn to have the pet do something. Um, the requirement is felt a little clunky, especially when you look at some of the cool spells that we have as a ranger. Obviously, I'm only level 3, so all I really have is like Zephyr Strike and obviously Hunter's Mark. You'll see a little bit of a homebrew thing here. We'll get to that in a second. Um, but I like the idea of being flexible, versatile, being able to use my spells when I need to, even though I'm not necessarily a spellcaster hunter. Um, and it's D&D, and so my understanding is you can maybe flex some of your actions that aren't attacks. Maybe your DM allows it to be a bonus action if you ask to do some sort of like roll, D20 roll to like perceive something, investigate something. Mid combat, maybe you can have your bonus action be that. So I like the idea of your bonus action being flexible. Um, Let me know if anybody else has played a Beastmaster. Maybe deeper in a campaign. Obviously, we're just starting out, and I'm expecting to maybe get to like 10th level, maybe at the highest or something. We're a once a month type of deal, so it'll be slow pickings, which is fine. I'm still going to be learning and stuff, and maybe looking for other campaigns to join in that are more frequent. But ended up going with that hunter class just because it's all a bunch of passives. Basically, you have Colossus Slayer. I know that there was the Horde Breaker. Maybe if I was like a different type of build, it seemed like Colossus Slayer was pretty cool. Um, and so we'll go over to this homebrew spell. And the very initial research, and also in the video I mentioned from the D4 channel on YouTube, something that was brought up in that video and in many comments of any video when I pulled up or forum posts really about Rangers uh, was about Hunter's Mark and kind of this tension between what seems like features that are built around Hunter's Mark and power that's given to Hunter's Mark through your class features, or in some cases, your subclass provides some benefits to using it, versus getting your power from being a hybrid caster melee class. You eventually get some higher level spells, which are pretty good from my understanding. Obviously, I'm not quite there yet, but you end up with this sort of tension of like, okay, well, we're buffing some of the stuff in Hunter's Mark through class features, but we naturally get this scaling from spells. Uh, it's cool to have the choice, I guess, between the two. And I think it's fine depending on your build. Maybe you make the most out of one versus the other. But I guess it would be cool if you could opt out of some of the things that you're getting towards Hunter's Mark and towards other things if you're not going to be making use of it. Um, and of course, in my case, being Dex, being dual wield focus, um, so I'm going scimitar short sword here. I think this is probably what most people are doing if they're going dual wield. I'm definitely going to be making the most of Hunter's Mark, and so my DM has graciously accepted this homebrew. Now, this is definitely subject to being pulled, right? If it ends up being too strong, I literally have no idea. And there is a downside to this that I'll talk about, but just really quickly, it's basically the same thing as Hunter's Mark normally is. The caveat being that you can move it for free when your target dies, and there's scaling. And I've mostly noted these levels for myself to get an idea of like what I would even be getting. In our case, if I went pure ranger, I would maybe get this third and fourth level area here for 2d6. And even then, I might only have like 3 casts of that. Um, I don't know actually how the scaling works with spell slots, but I imagine I'm only going to get a few of these out in a given day. And so, I'll fall back onto the free cast that you get as a ranger. Um, I think I've seen a couple of these suggested on the internet in terms of homebrew stuff, but I think the main concern comes from allowing this, but then also allowing multi-classing. And initially, my thought was to just be a pure ranger, and that would be kind of the trade-off. Is like, hey, I get these cool buffs to Hunter's Mark as a dual wielding melee, but have to commit to being a pure ranger. Now, that was my idea going into this. When I went into session 0 and I had this homebrew here prepared, what ended up happening uh, was I saw what our party was. Now, I think I mentioned we have a fighter battle master. I am a hunter or ranger hunter. And in our group, we have 2 rogues. We have an arcane trickster, dual wielding melee rogue, and we have an assassin range rogue, and we have a celestial warlock. Uh, After looking at the group um, and looking at the kind of what that class even does, I guess the celestial warlock is kind of like mixture hybrid support sort of thing, and then obviously 2 rogues, and then me and the fighter in the melee. I would like to be able to help the warlock in some way. Um, it would be a real shame if the whole time they were only using their spell slots for casting heal or aid or whatever it is. That in our session 0 we opted for the harder version of the encounter to really stress test our group, and I'm pretty sure both slots, one went to casting aid on myself and the fighter. I mean, I think that goes on everybody actually, but then I think they also casted cure wounds or heal on myself as well. I think that's both the spell slots. I think both of them require that. So, uh, and I think my understanding from Baldur's Gate 3 is that warlocks have 2 spell slots for a while. So, both their spell slots went towards keeping myself and the fighter alive, which I did drop the 2 HP at one point. I think in the second round of that combat. But I did do also the most damage uh, as a part of the. Oh gosh, where is the background? As a part of that build that Colby had reviewed, this find familiar thing was sort of the one of the pieces of the puzzle. Um, this is, I think, maybe the DM's first or second time maybe DMing, and then again, it's a pretty casual group, and so the DM did not end up killing my familiar, nor did they kill the arcane trickster. Also, is playing with this shenanigans here, find familiar, gaining advantage. Um, neither of our owls died. They were not targeted, um, and that meant that for me, having the short sword scimitar combo, um, my attacks with this plus Vex obviously were pretty accurate. I don't think I missed a single time the entire combat, which I think would ended up being 4 rounds or something. And I don't think I attacked in the last round because the last mob was flying away, so our ranged people killed it. But I don't think I missed a single time in that entire combat. And I was proccing Hunter's Mark the entire time. And so I think in terms of raw damage, I'm pretty sure I was up there. I nearly killed the first mob. I think we were fighting gargoyles. I didn't bother to look up the stat blocks. I try to keep myself blind. I guess I can research if I wanted to, but we were fighting. I think it was like 4 gargoyles, and then it was sort of like a turducken, three-headed chicken dragon monster thing, where the middle head has like a frontal cone breath thing, and then the two other heads could do a bite and a claw. Um, got hit with the breath. Silly mistake. I totally forgot that I had again new. I have absorb elements. Could have totally halved that damage, and then done some big damage on the backswing when I came back at it. So definitely will remember that next time around. Um, but yeah, I think the point of this was that I was originally planning on going single class ranger, saw what our group was, and had some second thoughts. I think I am going to end up multi-classing. I will see how it goes. Obviously, this is my first character, and so uh, the plan is to do. I think I'll be doing 5 levels. I wish I had something to show. This is sort of hypothetical. The plan was to do 5 levels of ranger, and assuming that the homebrew sticks, at least in terms of the um, non. Oh yeah, sorry, that was actually the third piece of this. No concentration. This is a duration based spell, so no concentration. One can move it if it dies for free. Two, and then damage scaling 3. I probably would be willing to drop this scaling here pretty easily, as long as these other ones, because these other ones are mostly just for like ease of use, flow of play, um, and that's mostly what I'm looking for. I think. The damage and stuff, it's kind of whatever. Not as important to me. But assuming I keep those quality of life homebrew features, 5 ranger, that gives me the extra attack. And then from there, my plan was to, with wisdom being a sort of secondary stat here, I am a little beefier. I've con up, and I think I took tough as my species feat. Yes, so I'm a little bit beefier. Plan was to go cleric. Um, I think normally this doesn't work as well because you have competing concentration, but because I have the free concentration, if I go 5 ranger and then the rest I go, I think I was looking at war domain cleric. Um, Perhaps if I bring up the war domain cleric here, my plan basically is that by going war domain, I get access to a couple of things. I get access to this guided strike feature. Um, Now, I mentioned that we have 2 rogues, and my understanding from rogues is that they have sneak attack damage, and I don't think rogues get extra attack. Um, a lot of my knowledge is based on Baldur's Gate, and I know there's differences, obviously, that they implemented. So um, I'm sure at some point in mid combat, I'll make an assumption and I'll get punished for it. But the point here is that I can guide his strike, and I can assist them in making sure that they land those attacks and that they are making those sneak attack damage rolls whenever it's their turn. Obviously, I can help myself as well. I'm already pretty accurate, but if I can help even the warlock or another rogue do their damage on their turn, it's totally awesome. Just to make sure again that they're landing their damage, because the last thing we would want is the rogue. The whole idea is sneak attack, right? So really want to make sure those land. Get some cool spells here as a war domain cleric, spiritual weapon. Um, Here at level 3, um, I get this bonus action option here to attack because I'm not taking the dual wielder feat. I think it is that would give you an extra bonus action attack if you're, um, I guess, like using finesse weapons or something. I think uh, maybe that's not the case, but I think you get a bonus action attack with that feat. I'm not taking that. Instead, I would get this. Obviously, I don't get the attack every time, but I'll likely be weaving in these spells. I think this is, yeah. So this is bonus action. Obviously, my Hunter's Mark is bonus action. Um, I have like Zephyr Strike and other spells that are bonus action. So um, my bonus action will be pretty occupied to begin with, and then whenever there is an opening and I can add a little bit of extra damage, boom, right here, equal to my Wisdom modifier, and that's really cool. And then, is it just the cleric feature? And there's a lot of features here. Um, yeah, level 7, you get the Blessed Strikes, um, which is just extra on hit damage, which is super awesome. Again, I'm dual wielding, so you know I get 3 attacks from uh, my normal attack plus the Nick Scimitar. Then I have my extra attack from Ranger, and then if I really need to push damage, bonus action, use that War Domain, War Priest feature, boom, extra damage. And then the really awesome one, level 6, I can cast one of these guys, Shield of Faith, Spiritual Weapon, um, without concentration, which is really cool. I probably would end up using Shield of Faith, give myself 2 AC. Even right now, if I go to my stat sheet here, we were awarded one uncommon item from our session 0. Ignore the Scimitar of Warning. It was just a reminder that I think I want to try to craft this or get this next. Went with Serpent Scale Armor. Um, I'm level 3, so I only have the +3 to Dex, but next level I'll take a feat that will give me 1 more Dex. So I'll have 18 armor, with pretty sizable health. Um, and I mean, I'm a wisdom-based secondary character, so I feel like I'm pretty strong in the front line. Um, being able to kind of be just as tanky as a fighter. I don't know actually if any. I don't know if fighters are naturally tanky. I guess they do because they have like heavy armor and stuff. But I'll be competing in terms of armor class. So I'll be doing pretty strong, um, and I'll be dishing out quite a bit of damage consistently. Like my damage doesn't require resources, other than I guess spell slots. But my Hunter's Mark is free for those first few. Um, I get 2 at this level, so I mean, I should be pretty much chilling on having my damage be consistent. So um, that's sort of the plan there. I'll probably be doing videos. I think our first true session is next week, middle of January here. We'll see how it goes. I think one of the folks is going to be out. Um, they had some prior plans, but the majority of the party was able to do that day, so we're going to just rip it for that day. And then I'll probably do another video for the other campaign that I'm joining, brother-in-law. I found out that they enjoy D&D, so we're getting a bunch of their friends and driving over to join their campaign as well. I think that's once a month. Um, I was thinking what I could be playing there. So that's kind of how Ollie is looking like. I can quickly kind of go over background stuff here. Um, in terms of the story, the idea here is that he was the child of a pretty wealthy family. There were some questions around the legitimacy of him being his father's son. Uh, this translated into pretty harsh expectations from his father and his studies and everything that he kind of did in life. And after extensive debates and discussions, and his mother unfortunately wasn't much help in this situation. You kind of get comfortable with the money that his parents met when they were not as wealthy, and then as the tides turned and wealth kind of came in, opinions changed, and people change over time, and Ollie felt like both of his parents effectively had kind of betrayed him, and instead of trying to live up to his father's expectations, he kind of struck out on his own at 15, kind of leaving his name behind, which is why the Roy Weaver name is not up here in the character name. But he eventually kind of struck out into the woods, kind of learned to fend for himself. Maybe met another mentor out there, and that's how he kind of became a ranger. Came back to the city as a mercenary and kind of started working for hire, basically job by job. That's kind of where Ollie is now. Um, we'll see how the DM kind of intertwines all of our stories. This is more of a combat focused campaign, rather than like super heavy lore stuff. I don't think we're following uh, any particular story. I think we're following maybe some smaller adventures in isolation. So we'll see how it goes. It should be fun. It should be a good learning experience. I'll learn a lot about combat, the do's and don'ts. I would like to try and homebrew an item for Ollie. I did think about potentially um, working on something related to his backstory. I think I may have even. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. I was messing around in here with a bunch of homebrew stuff. As you can see, I am not afraid to rip the band-aid on purchasing things just to get ideas and to be inspired. But a bunch of random stuff here that I made. But I had this idea of making the short sword and scimitar, maybe something that he stole from his parents when he ran away. And there are things that evolve over time as he improves his discipline with the blades. This is something totally different. Oh yeah, so like this would be the short sword. Um, Now this was around. I was messing around with an idea of like renaming the Hunter's Mark homebrew, but that's probably for a larger experimentation thing. I think it's kind of fun making up your own stuff, but you know, I wouldn't want to push that all up on the DM. So uh, I wanted to make a subclass that was sort of built around the idea of versatility. Um, and so, like at different levels, you would kind of have some options to select from, almost kind of like a loadout. You wouldn't be able to change it very often. Pretty restrictive on how often you can change, and so you kind of have to lock in your decision at each tier. But it's kind of like doing this decision thing where you'd have like a couple of options at certain levels, and then you kind of build out your ranger from there. If like in my case, maybe there would have been options to be a little bit more defensive focused or be able to assist the team in other ways. But kind of see how it goes. Maybe I'll regret not going Beastmaster, but that clunkiness again with the bonus action just didn't quite sit right and really click with me. So maybe in the future. I thought Winter Walker was kind of cool. You do have to get kind of high level, I feel like, to get some of the cool stuff. But so just focusing on that like level 10 range, basically, which will get me 5 Ranger and 5 Cleric. Um, so I should have most of the engine in place. Let me know what other items you think I should get. I don't really know all of the items that exist. I think I Googled like good ranger or rogue gear and the serpent scale armor came up. So let me know what you guys think I should pick up. I don't know if this solo selection, self selection was just a one time thing, but what's like a top 5 list? I also want to try. I don't know if the game supports this at all. I would like to just like craft my own stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm taking. I was reading the rule book. You need Arcana, and then I have Smith's tools. So if I can like make my own weapons or whatever, that'd be pretty cool. Conversely, I don't think I get anything else as a ranger, but it'd be cool to make my own weapon. I want to make that weapon of warning, or I think it's warning. Yeah, just let us be able to get advantage on initiative. And I would also like to make an enspelled sword potentially that has some stuff in there. I have Arcana proficiency, so I think I can scribe things. Let me know if I'm getting the rules right on that for Arcana. But man, there's just so much to learn. I'll definitely try and rein it in and just focus on a couple of things rather than trying to do all of them at once. I'm sure this won't be the last campaign I'll be a part of. But yeah, if you're out there, you have any thoughts, if you played a ranger as a hunter, how did it go? If you went pretty far into ranger as a solo ranger class, let me know how it felt. Um, it is kind of cool. Oops, that is not what I meant to do. I feel like I keep trying to end the video, but there's just a lot to talk about. You get the roving at level 6, which is cool. To have the climb speed and swim speed, defensive tactics. Um, I think it was multi attack defense. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how many creatures have multi attack, but like the gargoyles we faced could do multi attack, so it'd be pretty sweet to just have blanket disadvantage on every second attack plus that you would take from a creature. Um, Obviously, then you just kind of keep rolling through, right? Another ability score improvement, you get another feat. Expertise. I think these types of things are probably more for this temporary hit point thing is kind of cool. But like the expertise and stuff is probably useful. Superior Hunter's Play, Prey. This would be pretty interesting. It's 11th level, so if I look at yeah, so you would be able to splash 2d6 at that level, which is pretty. I mean, that's every turn, right? So again, a lot of free damage, a lot of stuff that you're not trying to manage in terms of. Oh, yeah, I think there's something else. Huh. Did you get something that lets you splash? Oh yeah. Jeez, I was just looking at that. All right, cool. Well, clearly I'm tired. But yeah, that's the first character. I'll keep posting as the campaign moves along, just as I learn. I'll probably note down things that I either misunderstood, things that I interpreted differently, make a note of those things, or misplays or cool moments. Um, and of course, any evolutions in how my build is kind of going. Um, and then I'll also make a video for what I'll play in the second campaign, which I think is themed around um, like a church, like we're all like members of a church or something, or like some sort of strike force for a church. We'll see. But anyways, that's it from Assume Control. Yeah, new to D&D. Seems pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of you have been playing for a long time. Uh, yeah. All right. Have a good one, y'all. Until next time.